1 week passed. Solène remained on the couch. Not officially. Officially, she was a defected enemy officer under temporary protection, while Sparkle Doom determined her usefulness, risk level, and long-term status. Unofficially, she was on the couch. Plum had declared it. Nobody had argued. Not because Plum was in charge, because nobody had the energy to unpack what arguing meant when an enemy captain had walked into their lives, renounced her house, threatened her former commander, and somehow made Kenny Reach personally vouch for her over tea. So Solène slept in the common room of Unity's temporary Sparkle Doom headquarters beneath 3 blankets, beside a locked weapons cabinet she was not allowed to touch. Under a security camera Ellie had very clearly installed that same afternoon. Ellie insisted it was standard procedure. Solène believed her, mostly. The camera followed her whenever she moved. That part felt personal. Unity had bigger problems than awkward sleeping arrangements. The Valcrest arrivals had filled every district faster than expected. Temporary homes overflowed. Family units doubled up. Storage halls became dormitories. Council offices became sleeping rooms. The schools had split into morning and afternoon sessions because there were too many children and not enough classrooms. Nobody was starving. Nobody was freezing. Nobody was unsafe. But the problem was growing teeth. Aurora stood over the central planning table with both hands pressed flat against the surface. Holographic maps glowed beneath her palms. "We're out of space." Mira didn't look up from her calculations. "We're not out of space." Aurora lifted her head. "Please tell me that's good news." "We're out of finished space." Aurora stared. "That is worse." "It is technically different." Plum sat sideways in a chair eating breakfast from a bowl. "Can we put people in tents?" Ellie folded her arms. "Temporary shelters are already at capacity." "Big tents?" "No." "Fancy tents?" "No." "What if we call them fabric mansions?" Ellie slowly turned toward her. Plum lowered her spoon. "Right. Bad time." Solène sat near the back wall, silent. She had learned where to sit, close enough to hear, far enough not to intrude, not by order, by instinct. Nobody had forbidden her from contributing. Nobody had invited her either. Aurora rubbed her temples. "If we build east, we hit the protected rootkeeper zones." Mira nodded. "If we build west, we interfere with the water grid." Ellie pointed to the lower district. "South is still unstable after the last rainfall." Plum raised her spoon. "What about up?" Everyone looked at her. She blinked. "What?" Ellie frowned. "That was almost useful." Plum looked offended. "Almost?" Mira opened another projection. "Vertical expansion would work eventually, but we don't have towers ready." Solène looked at the map, then at the government district, then at the unused administrative blocks. She looked away. Not her place. Aurora sighed. "We need 4 months," Mira corrected. 3.5 if material deliveries stay perfect. "They won't." "No." "So 4 months." Silence. The room felt tired. Solène's fingers tightened against her knee. She tried not to speak. Failed. "May I make a suggestion?" The room went still. Plum's spoon froze halfway to her mouth. Aurora turned. Mira blinked. Ellie straightened immediately. "That depends." Solène met her eyes. "On?" Ellie's expression did not change. "Whether it's useful," Plum whispered. "She means yes." Ellie did not deny it. Aurora nodded once. "Go ahead." Solène stood slowly and approached the table. She stopped at the edge, careful not to get too close to any control panels. Mira noticed. Her expression softened slightly. Solène pointed to Unity's government quarter. "These buildings." Mira brought them up. "What about them?" "They were built for future expansion." Aurora frowned. "Yes." "How much of the upper levels are occupied?" Mira checked. 32%. Solène nodded. "Move all active administration to the lower floors." Ellie's eyes narrowed. Solène continued before anyone interrupted. Digitize whatever can be digitized. Combine council archives with Everlight backups. Convert the unused upper floors into temporary apartment blocks. Mira's fingers started moving. Fast. Selene pointed to 3 connected structures. These buildings already have water, waste systems, emergency access, and reinforced internal walls. They were designed for offices. But offices are just rooms pretending they're important. Plum gasped. That was beautiful. Ellie ignored her. Mira stared at the calculations forming across the screen. Selene continued. Shared kitchens on every 2nd level. Laundry on every 4th. Medical stations at the connecting walkways. Families with small children closer to lower exits. Elderly residents near lift access. Single workers and military volunteers higher up. Mira's eyes widened. Aurora looked at her. Does it work? Mira didn't answer immediately. That was rare. Then she whispered. It saves almost 4 months. The room shifted. Aurora looked back at Selene. You've done this before. Selene nodded. In military settlements. Siege housing. Disaster overflow. Evacuated border towns. She looked down at the map. My house was good at moving people into too little space. A pause. Not always kindly. Another pause. But efficiently. Ellie studied her. And why didn't you say this earlier? Selene looked at her. Honestly, I wasn't sure I was allowed. That shut the room down. Plum's face changed. Aurora exhaled slowly. You're allowed. Selene looked up. Aurora continued. If you have something useful, say it. Ellie added sharply. And if it isn't useful, I'll say that. Plum nodded. That's basically a hug from Ellie. It is not. It kind of is. Selene almost smiled. Mira turned the projection toward Aurora. We can start today. Aurora looked at the glowing government district. Then at Selene. Good work. 2 words. Simple. Selene had received medals with less effect. Her throat tightened. Thank you. Ellie watched her carefully. Suspicious still, but thinking. That was something. By afternoon, unity was moving. The government quarter transformed into organized chaos. Officials carried boxes downstairs. Workers installed privacy walls. Digital teams transferred archives. Children watched from courtyards as entire floors changed purpose in hours. Mira took over internal logistics and immediately became terrifying. Aurora coordinated families. Ellie supervised security screening. Plum became responsible for morale, which somehow involved bread, songs, and convincing 3 frightened children that lifts were not monsters. Selene stayed near the conversion crews. At first, people avoided her. That made sense. She still looked like a soldier from the wrong side of a war. Then she started solving problems. A staircase flow issue. A blocked delivery route. An argument over family placement. A broken lift schedule. Every time she saw a knot, she loosened it. Not loudly. Not by command. By use. By experience. By knowing how crowded places failed before they failed. Near sunset, a young mother stood in the doorway of one converted apartment and started crying. Not dramatically. Just quietly. The room was small. 3 beds, 1 narrow table, a window overlooking Unity's lower gardens. To the woman, it might as well have been a palace. Her little daughter ran inside, threw her arms around Solene's legs and shouted, "Thank you!" Selene froze, completely. She looked across the hall at Plum with naked panic. Plum, carrying a box of blankets, mouthed, "Hug her back." Selene awkwardly lowered one hand to the child's shoulder. Then the other. The girl squeezed tighter. Selene knelt. The child hugged her properly. Solene's face changed. Something in her cracked. Not painfully. Softly. The child ran back to her mother moments later. Selene remained kneeling. Plum walked over slowly. "You all right?" Selene stared at the empty doorway. "I've never been thanked before." Plum's smile faded. "What?" Selene stood quickly, embarrassed by what had escaped. "Nothing." Plum didn't let it go. Solène. The name sounded different in Plum's voice. Less like rank, more like something real. Solène looked at her. In my house, good work meant you weren't punished. Plum's expression softened. That's miserable. Solène gave a tiny shrug. It was normal. Plum looked toward the family settling into the room. Not here. Solène followed her gaze. No. A pause. I'm noticing that. Later, when the worst of the work was finished, Plum found Solène sitting on the steps outside the government quarter. The evening air smelled of rain and fresh stone. Families moved into the converted buildings behind them. Children laughed through open windows. Unity looked less strained already. Plum sat beside her without asking. For a while neither spoke. Then Plum said, "So." Solène braced herself. "Were you really watching me for 2 weeks?" Solène closed her eyes. "Yes." "Were you there when I fell into the fountain?" A long pause. "Yes," Plum gasped. "I knew someone saw that." Solène looked down. "I laughed." Plum slapped a hand over her chest. "Betrayal. I tried not to." "Failed?" "Badly." Plum grinned despite herself. Then the grin softened. "Were you watching when I sat at the statue?" Solène's smile vanished. "Yes." Plum stared out at Unity. "That wasn't for spying eyes." "I know. You should have looked away." "I did." Plum turned. Solène's voice was quiet. "After I realized what it was." The answer sat between them. Plum looked down at her hands. "I still don't trust you." Solène nodded. "I know. But," Plum swallowed, "I think I want to." Solène looked at her too quickly. Hope was dangerous. Plum pointed at her. "Don't make that face." "What face?" "The wounded animal one." Solène blinked. Plum nodded. "That one." Despite herself, Solène laughed. Plum smiled. Small, careful, real. "I'm not forgiving you yet. I know. And if you hurt any of us, Aurora will probably kill you." "Yes. And if Aurora doesn't, Ellie definitely will." "I know. And if they don't," Plum leaned closer, "I will." Solène held her gaze. "I believe you." For some reason that made Plum smile wider. "Good." Ellie watched from across the courtyard. Aurora stepped beside her. "You're staring." "I'm observing." "That's staring with better posture." Ellie didn't smile. "I don't trust her." Aurora nodded. "I know. I don't know if I ever will." "You don't have to." That made Ellie look over. Aurora kept watching Plum and Solène on the steps. "I don't need everyone to feel the same thing at the same time." Ellie folded her arms. "That's unusually sensible." "I have moments." Ellie looked back. "What if we're wrong?" Aurora's expression grew serious. "Then we'll deal with it." "And if she's lying?" "You'll notice." Ellie glanced at her. Aurora smiled faintly. "I trust you enough for both of us." That landed. Ellie looked away first. That was manipulative. It was leadership. "Same thing. Sometimes," Ellie sighed. But some of the hardness left her face. "I'll watch her." "I know. And if something feels wrong, you tell me immediately." Ellie nodded. "Good." Across the courtyard, Plum laughed. Solène looked startled by it, then smiled. Ellie watched that smile carefully. It did not look rehearsed. That annoyed her. Useful data often did. That night, Solène returned to headquarters expecting the couch exactly as she had left it. She found it changed. Still the couch. No grand gesture. No bedroom. No trust handed over like a crown. But someone had folded an extra blanket at one end. A proper pillow sat beside it. And on top of the pillow rested a single honey pastry wrapped in cloth. Solène stopped. The room was quiet. Aurora's office door was shut. Mira's light glowed faintly upstairs. Ellie was nowhere visible, which meant she was probably somewhere very visible if one knew where to look. Plum was halfway up the stairs, pretending she had absolutely nothing to do with anything. Solène looked at the pastry, then at Plum. Plum froze. "What?" Solène picked it up carefully. You left this. No, I didn't. It has your name written on the cloth. Plum squinted. Could be another plum? Solène smiled. There are many? Probably. Solène held the pastry gently. Her voice softened. Thank you. Plum looked away. You don't get honey bread yet. Solène glanced down. This is honey bread. Plum's eyes widened. Then it's a test. A test. If you eat it wrong, you fail. Solène laughed. Plum tried not to smile. Failed. Then she disappeared upstairs. Solène sat slowly on the couch. The pillow was soft, the blanket warm, the pastry still sweet in her hands. For the first time since defecting, she did not feel like a prisoner waiting for judgment. Not accepted, not fully, not safe in the way she wanted to be, but closer, a little closer. She broke the pastry in half, set one piece aside. A habit she'd learned from watching Plum. Then she ate. Outside, unity settled into night around newly filled windows. Families slept in rooms that had not existed that morning. Children dreamed under proper roofs. The housing crisis was not solved forever, but it had been answered. And inside Sparkle Doom headquarters, Captain Solène slept on the couch beneath a borrowed blanket, one step closer to becoming something no one had expected. Useful. Wanted. Maybe one day. Trusted.